Hello, good evening, and a warm welcome to you. Welcome back to the Competitive Speed Series. My name is Frostbreath, and I will once again be your commentator for tonight. We are headed to round 4, and that will be taking place in Canada. Circuit Gilles de Villeneuve in Montreal, a semi-street circuit, as they say. A 14-corner long track with, of course, plenty of overtaking opportunities. The hairpin, most notably. And, of course, there is the infamous Wall of Champions. Speaking of champions, here is the standings as they are after the third round. Last week, we were at the surprise Grand Prix voted by the managers to be Monaco after a three-way tie. The tie had to be broken, and it was Monaco for the PC tier. And the standings are, as you can see on the screen, as follows. WOR had a brilliant 1-2 last week round in Monaco. And that means they now have a very healthy 41-point lead over NLR, who had a man on pole position, unfortunately. That didn't turn out too well for them, and they now lost the championship lead. 14 points behind them at the moment is the ABS Racing team with 74 points, and they are feeling the hot breath in their neck by Team TTM, who are sitting in 4th place at the moment. Then Artifacts Racing, aka ATX, in 5th position, closely followed by Novus Racing in P6. Then PD, aka Playing Ducks, in P7. CPI just behind them in P8. Team Shizhu in 9th place, and last is Team GRS. However, they are no longer with us. The Racing League, or their team, their competitive team at least, closed down. And therefore we have a new team to be joining us in the Alpine cars, and that is Precision Racing, aka PR. They will be making their debut tonight in Canada. Speaking of Canada, let's have a little look at the calendar as it stands right now. We are in the 4th round right now, and next week we'll be having a little break from the action, which also accidentally or coincidentally comes together with the opening race in Bahrain. So that's probably the reason why there's a little break there, because that race takes place on Saturday and qualifying takes place on Friday. That's a bit new there. Next week will be next time, actually, I should say, we are having Great Britain. I also see some people in the chat right there. Hello, Zach. Good to see you there. Zomans TV, good to see you there as well. Slowly, people are coming in the chat and ready to rumble. I see a qualifying ban there for NLR, and it looks like Zach Miles is taking that one. I also know that from the top of my head, and I can see that right here. ATX is having a qualifying ban as well. And that means one of their drivers is going to have to take that one for them. We're missing one driver at the moment, which means that person who will be joining late will be having a qualifying ban. Also, for TTM tonight, we'll be having Luke Mills, because he used to be a GRS driver, but since they closed, he has joined the TTM team and is now driving in a Red Bull alongside René Klein. For WR, the same drivers as last week, Justin Arts and Janesh Dovjan. For the new team, PR, we have Christian Lyubanov, I hope I pronounced that name correctly, and Alessandro Poi, or Poi, I think it's Poi. In the Alpine cars. Then for Team Shizhu, Tom Roberts, Charles Sutton, both familiar names by now in the CSS series. Then for NLR, we have Zach Miles and Tim Bayer in the Alfa Romeo cars. For ATX, we have Istvan Tamashi and Bodan Ovsyanikov in the Haas. Then for CPI, we have two Thomases. We have Tomasz Spausta and we have Tomasz Buldra in the McLarens. That's going to be an interesting, confusing thing for me to pronounce correctly and not mess those first names up with their last names. For NVR, we have Benny Fabos, and I believe they are missing their second driver right now, which is very unfortunate. Let's see, for ABS, Exafox and Chris once again, and then for Team PD, Julian and Pablo Alcoba. And I believe that settles all 10 teams right now. So NVR are awaiting their final driver, which is guaranteed to have a qualifying ban. Apparently that's Wilson Hall. Nobody's got any idea where he is, so let's hope he'll be joining very soon. And now we're just waiting for the lobby to ready up. It's 3 minutes past the official start time, so we should be ready to go at any moment. And I'm curious about this track. Of course, it's a whole different beast compared to Monaco. The Wall of Champions is going to be an interesting one to keep an eye out for. The overtakes potentially happening in the hairpin and into turns 1 and 2 as well. And there could be many surprise overtakes in several other corners as well. Don't be surprised if there's going to be an overtaking happening in turn 6, for example, just before the third DRS zone. And maybe at the end of that DRS zone in turns 8 and 9 as well. I believe from the top of my head that is where a few years ago Sebastian Vettel went off after Lewis Hamilton chased him down. He rejoined the track quite dangerously, causing Hamilton to nearly go into the wall. And that is what Vettel actually cost him the win there. But that's a whole different story. It's unlikely that scenario will be replicated tonight. Although, to be fair, there were plenty of incident reports from last week in Monaco, unsurprisingly, with 8 DNFs. And plenty of drivers who really wanted to get past and therefore had to be decisive and potentially aggressive at times, meaning incidents were unavoidable. In fact, there have been 12 incident reports last week that had to be investigated by the stewards, and some penalties handed out here and there. And I believe, WR still had their one too. And I know that at least Luke Walstow finished third, was disqualified. Not because of an incident, but for another reason, meaning that Krisix from ABS actually inherited third place, which did their championship standings real well, to be fair. All right, off we go. You might have heard the sound effect of the countdown beep happening there. And that means we are on our way right now. It is happening indeed. I hopefully will have fixed the stuttering issues which were somewhat plaguing us last week. Turns out limiting your frame rate does wonders for some strange reason, which is why I've limited the game to 60 frames per second, even though my screen is 120 Hertz. But it at least stops the stuttering. Plus the stream is kept to 60 FPS as well, so it really shouldn't make any difference for you viewers. And to be fair, nor did I see much difference myself either. Right then, we are here right now. This is Canada, Gilles de Villeneuve in Montreal. It should be a good one. I always quite like watching racing happening at this track. Not so much driving it, to be fair. I always find this one quite tricky to get right, although one thing I am personally good at is avoiding the track limits, which is, this track is known for those track limits, very notorious, so don't be surprised if there's going to be plenty of time penalties tonight, mainly happening at the final chicane, where it's very easy to just slide a little bit outside of the white lines. And several other positions, turns 4 and 3 as well. Very difficult to stay within the white lines, especially if you're pushing hard. And as we are talking about those track limits, we see Jernej Dovjan coming out of the pit lane. The man who has been denied a victory for 3 times in a row right now. Although, to be fair, last week's 1-2 should be counted as a victory for him as well. His teammate Justin finished in first. He finished in second. And so far he has preferred the medium to soft strategy at every single track, which is very interesting. He's been making it work all 3 of those times. Unfortunately, it has yet to result in a victory, but it definitely has resulted in a position that was much better than his qualifying place at the start of the race. So let's see if he can do it again 4 times in a row, and maybe 4 times the charm for Jernej Dovjan tonight. Nonetheless, they have a healthy lead, so they probably shouldn't go all in and only take risks when it's really necessary. Tomasz Buldra, alongside his teammate and namemate, we can say as well, Tomasz Posta, who is still hanging around in the pit lane. Jernej was quite early. You can see he's quite far ahead of the rest of the drivers who are slowly dripping out of the pit lane as we speak. And I'm wondering who is going to be on pole position tonight. Thunderstorm for the race. I can see that one in chat. That should be interesting. Potentially. I've only seen that happen once in an older game. A safety car could come out if the weather is too bad. We know that red flags are disabled. It's such a shame that they don't work properly, because I think it would have been brilliant if they worked, well, as they should be. Same goes for the formation lab, so fingers crossed that for the next game they will be working correctly. Anyway, Janesh Dovjan is on his way right now, going into turn 1. Let's follow him on board as he negotiates his way across the track. Looking nice and easy so far. This is, remember, a banker lap. There's still 15 minutes to go, so plenty of time to get it right if you mess it up here. But it is nice to have a banker lap in quite early, as that will set the benchmark not only for yourself, but for the others as well. And knowing Janesh, this could potentially be a very good one. Behind him, quite a few seconds back, is Thomas Buldra as we pass one of the Alpine cars. No longer GRS, remember, that is now the car for the Precision Racing Team, aka PR. Also, we're still missing our final NVR driver, and it might be that they won't be able to join in time, and that means NVR will only have one car out on track tonight. Janesh Dovjan then on the back straight, about to head into the chicane. Let's see if he can get it through nice and easy. Oh, that was a bit too much of a corner cut, nearly in the wall of champions as well. And a lap invalidation, it would have been a 1 minute 9.3, which is quite the nice time. So we're heading to Thomas Buldra then, who is still on his way as well. Through the chicane, and no invalidation there. So he'll be the first to set a lap time on the boards tonight. There we go, a 1 minute 9.5. And that is the benchmark for the other drivers. Let's see who else is on their way. Let's actually watch our new drivers tonight with Christian Lubinov, who said he is going to be swamped in the shed a few minutes ago. You never really know though, as Julian goes quite a lot faster than Thomas, with more than half a second quicker, 1 minute 9.0. The times are starting to drip in. Tom Roberts in second place, Chris in P4, and Charles Sutton currently in 5th place with a 10.3. Definitely some mistakes happened there, I'm certain. And Christian Lubinov has destroyed his lap, aka invalidated the lap time there. So we switch to Alessandro Poi, who is still on his way to the end of the second sector and about to head into the chicane. I mean the hairpin, sorry. Chicane is a whole different sort of corner. No purple middle sector, although that doesn't really mean a lot in this game. Pablo Alcolba currently in 3rd place. Exafox jumping up to P4. Benny Fabos in P6 at the moment, the only NVR driver in. Looks like Wilson will be disqualified nonetheless, so that means NVR will definitely have one car now. Thomas Spausta coming in at 2nd place. A lot quicker than the other Thomas from his from the same team, and Alessandro Poi joining in P6 at a 9.4. That's what the man who until last week was running in that Alpine car for another team. He is now part of the TTM team, and in terms of Drivers' Championship, he will of course keep his points, but of course he won't carry those over to his new team. He'll be starting from scratch for them. And he's doing quite well, it seems. The lap is at least still valid, and that is quite something around Canada. It's not easy to get a clean lap in here. Lucky for him, the drivers ahead are moving into the pit lane right now, as he goes through the chicane onto the main straight and across the line, and then we will know where he will be positioned. It's a 9.6. That is 9th fastest for now. Istvan Tamashi. He is pushing Rue through the hairpin. Got a bit of a lockup at the rear. René Klein is just ahead. And René is on a hot lap as well, I believe. Yes, he is. There's still a few drivers who have yet to put in a hot lap. Of course, Zach Miles is having a qualifying ban. I believe Istvan is going to take the qualifying ban for the ATX team. And René has invalidated his lap, which means he will be staying 15th for now. Bogdan Ovsyanikov. It looks like he might be the man who will be setting a lap time. Although neither of the ATX drivers have officially retired yet, so I'm not 100% sure who of the two will be taking the qualifying ban. We do know, as we saw in chat, that Zach will be taking the NLR qualifying ban, and his teammate Tim Beyer is sitting in 11th at the moment. Plenty of improvement to be found for him there. Team Shizou currently 9th in the standings, and it looks like confirmation there that Ovsyannikov is taking the ATX qualifying ban. Bodan is Roman Dishmay. Always love when people change their names. Right, Charles Sutton, we're watching him here. I was talking about Team Shizou. They are 9th in the standings. I'm sure they will be improving throughout the season. Right now we can see Tom Roberts doing quite well. He's sitting in 3rd right there. Charles in 13th. So there's some time to be found there. That's, oh dear, an AlphaTauri car just, just in time, reversing to prevent a big collision there. Benny Fabus spun out there in turn 9. Thankfully for him, it's just an outlap, so no big harm done. Although it nearly turned out disastrous for him and Charles, as he was in the middle of the road, and the ghosting, I believe, just stopped there as soon as he started moving backwards. Thankfully, no big collisions, and both are still fine. Let's see where Jernej is hanging out at the moment. He's invalidated. Oh dear me, again, that is going to hurt. Unless this is actually his hot lap. Yep, there it is. He's invalidated the previous lap, so he's just slowed down immediately, and he's going to try again, and off he goes. Let's see in a few moments where he will be positioned. Thomas Buldra, currently about 4/10 quicker than his previous attempt, so let's see if he can do it through the final chicane. Well done, no invalidation there. Across the line, it's going to be the first 1 minute 8. No, it's a 1 minute 9.1. Very close behind Tom Roberts and very near his teammate Thomas Spouster in P2. So CPI on the up at the moment, and they need that. They've got their drivers do have quite a lot of pace. They just haven't put in a lot of great results, apart from China, of course, where one of their drivers won the race. But in terms of points, they're quite a bit behind at the moment. Krizix on the back straight as well. Almost 4.5 quicker than his previous attempt. That's going to be quite a jump in positions. Might be a top 5 potentially, depending on how he did the final chicane. Across the line, it's a 1 minute 9.3 and P6 just ahead of his teammate. Alessandro Poi on his way at the moment. Some traffic to negotiate for him. Janesh Dovjan is back in the pit lane. He still hasn't set a lap time, and the pressure is slowly mounting. 8 minutes remaining. So technically still quite a little time left. But they'll have to be careful. Purple middle sector for Poi, which is strange because he's 2 milliseconds up on his previous lap time. So once again, we'll have to take that one with a grain of salt. Tim Beyer moving in between both ABS cars. Up to P7 he goes. That is a nice improvement indeed. Let's see where Alessandro will be. His teammate still having to set a lap time. Currently on his way. A small improvement in P9 right there. I believe that wasn't even an improvement in terms of position. Or I believe, yeah, actually 1 place up. 9th place for now. And the question is, where will his teammate be? We're watching René having invalidated his lap. Or at least this one. It looks like he's already recharged the battery. And he's going to try again on the same set of tires. There will be a lobby restart. Apparently there is a grid penalty. I have missed that one. I don't know who this grid penalty belongs to. But we'll find out soon enough. Yellow flags in Sector 3, of course, for cars that are getting ready for their hot lap. With 6.5 minutes remaining, there is still some time to get that perfect lap in. It's still Julian, who is sitting on provisional pole. Here he is. And we're very close to that 1 minute 8 limit. And I wouldn't be surprised if at least this man is going to be able to get below that mark. That would be very nice to see. But there's also plenty of other drivers who might have that potential. Now, at least the top 5 has that potential. But there might be other drivers who can put in a surprise lap. Justin Arts, for example, currently only 11th fastest. And having invalidated this attempt, heading back into the pit lane. He's also wearing a Red Bull helmet in a Ferrari. And his teammate is still in P18, having yet to set a proper lap time. Invalidated 2 in a row now. So there is definitely some work to be done. Five minutes and a little bit extra remaining, so the final attempts are coming up, and soon we will know who will be on pole position. Let's see how Julian is doing at the moment, about half a tenth quicker through the first sector, which is quite neat, and at the moment he is on course for that 1 minute 8. He's a Max fan. Well, yeah. Looks like it. Middle sector then. He lost a tiny bit of time through sector 2. A bit of a lock-up through the hairpin. Is he still satisfied with his lap? He's not yet backing out of it. That's for sure. Let's see how he does through the final chicane, the Wall of Champions. No, he is dissatisfied with his lap and he heads back into the pit lane. So that is exit for Julian. Jonas Devjan, though, looks like he's finally nailing it. And where is he going to be? All the way up to 3rd position he goes. WR finds themselves now on the 2nd row of the grid with 1 car. Meaning that Justin Aerts has to pull out a little bit extra to make sure he's up there as well. To work together with his teammate once again. Chrisix right here just started his lap. Currently 8th fastest, 2 positions ahead of his teammate, and there is a difference of 4/100ths of a second. That's how close it is once again. Still, the magic 1 minute 8 barrier has yet to be broken. Janesh came very close, but not close enough. Can Chrisix do it potentially? He'll have to find... Oh, is it 4/10ths? It will be enough. But can he find that? There we go. Half a tenth quicker through the middle sector, so he'll have to do a lot of magic through the final sector now. One of the Ferraris is ahead. That is, of course, Janesh Devjan. It's currently pretty quiet on track, because everybody is preparing for their final run. One of the Red Bulls is heading out right now, as Chrisix is about to finish his hot lap, and that is probably his final attempt, and into the wall he goes! The first victim of the Wall of Champions is Chrisix, but by some miracle, it appears, at least from our point of view, his card is still in one piece. But that is definitely an invalidation, obviously. Thank you very much there, game. That's not a Magnussen, I'm afraid that's a Grosjean from about 5 years ago, when their Haas were still black and gold. Oh, actually, that was Magnussen. You made a good point there. It wasn't Grosjean, it was Magnussen. Anyway, as opposed to Magnussen's car, this Mercedes is still fine. I think it's made of pure... I don't know. Pure carbon fiber. Everything is just unbreakable right there. That was quite a scare for him, and I'm afraid that's his qualifying run over. There's no more time to get back in the pit, and whoa, nearly losing it on his in-lap in the hairpin as well, as we get another grid penalty there for Tim Beyer, as he's on his outlap, and a massive train of cars. Let's actually have a little look at this massive train. Here it is, and this is the man who got the unfair penalty there. So the lobby restart is now going to happen for 2 drivers, at the very least. Here they all are, fighting for a position with 2 minutes remaining, not much less than 2 minutes actually. It's going to be interesting to see who will make it to the line in time, especially considering the fact, look at that, there's an Alpine coming out at this moment, that is Alessandro Poi. We get another 5th place grid penalty in that big train. It's absolute chaos already. And even another thing is that Luke Mills just has started his hot lap. Let's hope for his sake that he will not be bothered by the large amount of traffic that is currently in the hairpin. What with the double sector caution? It's the yellow flags that is being caused by the slow cars. And Luke Mills is approaching them at big speed. 1.5 tenths quicker at the moment. And if Tim Beyer isn't careful, he'll be disqualified altogether. Because the game likes to hand out grid penalties for blocking an outlap, apparently. That really needs to be fixed. End of the 2nd sector, Luke Mills on a flyer. Almost 2/10 quicker at the moment. And there's the disqualification for Tim Byer. I was afraid that would happen. And that is terrible news for NLR. Because that means now both cars will be starting from the back. That is the worst possible scenario as Luke Mills negotiates his way through traffic who are making their way to the finish line. I can't see how much time is remaining, but I do know it isn't much. Will they make it in time? There's 4 drivers still trying to head to the finish line in time as Luke Mills improves to 9th position. 8-7, 6 seconds left, and I think they'll all be just barely in time. René Klein will definitely be. Kriesix will not be, but I think he's going to give his teammate a tow. That is his reason why he's still out there. Actually, he's finished already. That means the AI is taking control for some reason. Julian has already invalidated his attempt, so he will not be improving. Let's see if Thomas Spauster... No, he's invalidated as well. Tom Roberts actually has gone quickest overall. Out of nowhere comes the man from Team Shizou to be the first to break the limit of 1 minute 8. Who else can be trying to claim that position? Dinesh Dilshan is improving, but by how much at the moment? He's 1/10 and a bit quicker. Right now is getting very close to that provisional pole position. Pablo Acolba has thrown in the towel right there. And A. Klein is still quite far away from putting in a hot lap. I think he's going to get a tow from Luke Mills right there. Yes, you can see it on the mini-map as we're watching Dinesh Dilshan approaching the finish line. What will be happening here as he goes across the line? Will he be stealing Roberts' pole position? He does! 1 minute 8.8 and Dinesh Dilshan strikes again, and this time he does it in qualifying already. René Klein does improve, goes up to P6. Alessandro Poix, where is he at the moment? He has finished already, hasn't improved. It's a 1 minute 9.4, and that is your qualifying run over. Dinesh Dilshan strikes in qualifying, goes fastest overall. But they'll keep the applause going, I'd say, for Tom Roberts, who goes in the front row as well, but a very quick time indeed. Thomas Buldra will be starting from 3rd, and Julian couldn't improve from his first attempt. He'll be starting from 4th. As for the rest of the grid, we'll be having this one. There is Thomas Bosta in P5, René Klein in P6, then Pablo Alcoba in 7th position, Kriesix in P8, Luke Mills in P9, Exafox in 10th. Then for the rest of the field, it's Alessandro Apoy, Benny Fabos, Justin Arts only in 13th. That will be painful for WR, with one car on pole and the other car quite far down the field. But we do know Justin from making up a lot of positions in the race and staying out of trouble. That's going to be key here as well. Istvan Tamashi in 14th, Charles Sutton in P15, and then there's, 3 drivers, and right now 4, because Tim Byer has had an argument with the game about grid penalties, causing him to be unfairly disqualified. That is very, very unfortunate, because he was way up in the top 10. And he's not going to like that one. NLR starting from the back, and that is really going to hamper their attempt to catch WOR in the championship. They're 41 points behind. Anyway, lobby restart is definitely coming up, and that means we will be watching this first lap unfold as we speak, as everybody has to retire. Tim is going to be P9. Okay, that is great news actually. He's been given his time back. That's excellent. This is the thunderstorm we will be starting with, and I hope that they will be keeping the weather the same during the restart. I just got a screenshot, and it's going to be a thunderstorm throughout the entire race. Goodness me, this is going to be very interesting already. All right. Well, I'm a bit speechless on that one. You can't recreate thunderstorms. That is very unfortunate. But it's going to be full wet conditions nonetheless. Canada 2007 vibes. Well, I'd say Canada 2012 as well. Was it 2011? One of those two where the race lasted for 4 hours. Well, let's hope for our sake that that will not be happening to us tonight. Because we'll be here until way past midnight, at least in my time. Right, let's see how the lobby restart unfolds. Of course, either people retire at the start line or they're just going to crash out. We already have a virtual safety car due to that thunderstorm. It's such a shame because of those grid penalties. It would have been fascinating. You can already see the game reacting to the bad weather with a full safety car, but that probably because everybody's crashing out. Thomas Buldra leading this chaos right here. Let's hope they'll retire quickly. The quicker we can get this lobby restarted, the better. International Jean avoiding all the chaos. Oh, just drifting through the corners. Nicely does it. I'm impressed by his drifting skills. And there he goes, 360. Nearly a 720. And off they all go. And there's just 2 drivers remaining right now. Alessandro Poi, I wonder if he knows. Drive-through penalty speeding on the safety car. There you are. He'll probably be crashing it out in the hairpin. No, he still keeps going. Alessandro, please retire. He's just waiting for you now. I think he's just trying to be disqualified. That might be the case as well. But to be fair, we're just wasting our time here, so please hurry up. And there we go, disqualified from session. That is the end of that. Lobby restart is coming up in a few minutes. With full wet conditions throughout the entire race. That means no DRS. And a completely different tire strategy, of course. And I really wonder if anybody is going to be daring to try the intermediates at some point in the race. Because you never really know how things are going to turn out. Once again, such a shame that we had to restart this lobby because of that thunderstorm. That would have been absolutely brilliant. So far, from what I remember, the last time I saw a thunderstorm, it was at Canada as well. Looks like this might be the only track where this can happen. Very interesting. Anyway, until that lobby restarts, we'll be having a little bit of a break. So we'll see you in a few minutes. Until then, enjoy just a little bit of music. We are about to get going once again. Welcome back. The grid has been reset. Tim Beyer has been reinstated his lap time, which means he'll be starting from 9th place. That is, of course, his lap time he was able to set before everything unfolded in a very bad way for him. And yes, there will be full wet conditions throughout the entire race, as the weather was going to be like that all the way before the lobby restarted. In fact, it was going to be a thunderstorm, but a fair point was made in the Discord chat that the game actually does throw out a lot of safety cars and virtual safety cars when the weather is that bad. Nonetheless, this is then probably for the best, a fair point there. Tire strategy, I'd say full wet throughout the entire race and one pit stop at most, unless of course safety cars will happen, which is extremely likely in conditions like this, because look at the downpour happening right there. So much rain is coming down right now. An umbrella is not going to be helping by much. And full wets even might be very tricky to control as well. It's going to be very interesting to watch this race unfold. And we also might very well be seeing other drivers rise up here, because different conditions might mean a different talents floating up to the top. And that means Janesh Davjan, while starting from pole position, might not win the race, but that of course counts and goes for every single driver and every single race happening in a season. Pole position is of course not a guarantee for a victory unless you're starting from Monaco. And there's another recession right there as well. Last week, of course, we saw Gabriel Quintino starting from pole position, and he crashed and then didn't win the race. One stop on lap 17 seems the fastest, which makes a lot of sense. Halfway through the race, that's where lap 17 is in a 35-lap race. But that is, of course, if there's no safety cars whatsoever. So let's find out what will be the quickest. Already Lucas Scythe is disagreeing there, I'd say, with that analysis. I think that's the correct word to use. Anyway, full wet setups, I'd say, for this track as well, for the drivers. Thankfully, Park for May is off. Especially now that the lobby had to be restarted anyway. People asking how much fuel. I wonder. I don't know how that will be in a wet race like this. Minimum fuel challenge is being suggested. I'd say in a competitive series like this, probably not a good idea. And don't forget, no formation lap, so the race will be going at any second at the moment. Just waiting for the proper moment to get it underway. Make sure you leave your predictions in the chat as well, by the way. Let me know who you think will be winning this potentially chaotic and definitely very wet race. Will Janesh convert his pole position into a first win that he so desires after 3 rounds of unsuccessful races in terms of getting a victory? We'll find out in a few moments as the lights are coming on right now. Janesh from pole position, Tom Roberts just behind. The lights are off and we are go. A very tentative start for most drivers as they try to get off the line safely. Janesh has got the inside in turn 1. He gets ahead, but he already drifts into the first corner, nearly slits off the track. That allows Tom Roberts to get side by side and challenge him for the lead, but he has to go around the outside. Can he do it though? He carried more speed, he had more grip, but Janesh Davjan is still there on the inside line. Will they keep it alive there as they already race for the lead? We saw Thomas Buldra going through the grass challenging his teammate for the lead. And Janesh wants to reclaim it immediately, but Tom Roberts is on it. Looks like he might potentially have more pace into it, but he gets pushed a little bit wide, allowing Julian to go on the offensive. He started 4th, already up to 3rd. The CPI drivers swap positions, and now they challenge Julian for this 3rd position. Janesh Davjan drops down to 3rd already, gets challenged for that position as well. There's a lot of position changes happening just in the first lap, and Tom Roberts is allowed to go away from the rest of the field because behind him there's a lot of fighting going on. Janesh Davjan with Julian fighting for 2nd place, or Red Bull spins out. That's René Klein, unfortunately spinning out there, starting from the midfield and now dropping down to pretty much last position. A 5-second penalty for Justin for a corner cutting infringement. I'm not sure if that one is going to stay because there was a lot of chaos at the start of the race. Janesh wisely deciding to back out before the chicane happens in trying to overtake. Justin gets another 5-second penalty for ignoring a yellow flag. A lot of things are going wrong now for Justin Aerts right there. As we head into the second lap, Janesh Dovjan falls out of the podium, but he's still there on the inside of Thomas Pauster. He gives him enough room, the McLaren does. But he is properly ahead right there. And now Janesh Dovjan finds himself in a CPI sandwich, so to say. Plenty of things have happened since the race start. Let's see about those position changes right here. Who's gained the most? It's Istvan Tamashi, at least right now, who's headed up into 11th place. He's left a lot of cars far behind. Speaking of those cars, there's absolute chaos unfolding right there as Justin Aerts tries to overtake Pablo Alcoba for a 12th position. Pablo has to fight ahead and behind as well. Zach Miles is making up position through the field as well. Started from nearly last position, but he's having trouble trying to get past all of these drivers, including there Roman Dishmay from ATX. Yes, he does not have the proper displayed name right there, but that's definitely Roman Dishmay, I've been told. So that is the name I'll be using for the rest of the race, if I don't forget it in the heat of the moment there. Because of all the action happening on track right now. Tom Roberts is slowly getting reeled in again by Julian and Thomas. Let's see if he can keep that lead. We're nearly about to hit into lap 3. And many things have happened already. Zach Miles is trying to get past Pablo Alcoba. He will have the inside line in the chicane. But Pablo backs out. He's going into the pit lane with potential front wing damage there. That is not a great start for him. Benny Fabos is heading into the pit lane as well. Both of them are going in for a potential fresh wing change and of course new tires as well. We're back at the head of the field where Tom Roberts is pulling away again from Julian. Julian feels the hot breath of Thomas Pauster behind him as well. Janesh Dovjan is being left behind a little bit. Krizix has moved up a few positions as well now. All the way up to 5th place from P8 at the start of this race. Tomasz Buldra is down 3 places since his race start. Started in 3rd, now down in P6. Tim Beyer, who had his lap reinstated, finds himself back into 7th place. Ooh, that probably was a track limit warning right there at the very least. And he's got Luke Mills behind him at the moment, fighting for that position with him. In the hairpin they go. The field is slowly starting to spread out, and this is the moment where you will see who's got the pace in the wet weather and who simply doesn't, because that's how it is. Driving in the wet is a whole different type of driving style than driving in the dry conditions. And right now, Tom Roberts appears to have a little bit of the upper hand in terms of wet weather pace. We see Julian still under threat as Thomas Pauster now sets the fastest lap of the race. He's on a roll, but he still has an obstacle ahead of him. That is Julian, who he would like to get past as soon as possible. Look at that, he's watching left and right, trying to make the move whenever possible, but it is risky and dangerous trying to do so in these wet and tricky conditions. The track limits, of course, don't forget those either. Julian got a bad exit, and that allows Thomas to get very close now. But Julian is everywhere. He makes his car very wide indeed. And that does not allow Thomas to get past. But another bad exit for the Williams driver. Now is the time for Thomas Pauster to strike. He's got the fastest lap on his name, and he's going to show how his pace is going to be in the wet. He is ahead right there, and Julian has to back out. That allows Janesh Dovjan to get back side by side with the Williams and regain the podium place. He started on pole. He's no longer there, but at least he's back in 3rd. Whoa, braking as late as he can, drifting through the hairpin. And Julian nearly got into the back of the Ferrari there. Plenty of action on the first few laps. We see Istvan Tamashi and Alessandro Poi fighting in the hairpin as well. Look at how close they are behind one another. Alessandro Poi is trying to close that gap once again. He's been overtaken now by the ATX driver. But is he gonna go on the offensive again? No, he isn't. He's a bit too far away to make that move, especially with no DRS and these wet conditions. It is very tricky indeed. We see Krizix and Tomasz Buldra fighting for position here in the top 5 as well. Tomasz Buldra staying ahead for the time being, or actually overtaking Krizix, I should say, to go back up into 5th place. 5 laps in, and many things have happened already. If you've just tuned in, it's quite a chaotic race already. But all of the drivers are still in the race. Whoa, but that was very close indeed by Chrysics, nearly plowing his front wing into the gearbox of the McLaren ahead. Thankfully for him, that did not happen. And right now, as it seems, Tom Roberts has got a brilliant pace going for himself. 2 seconds ahead of Thomas Bausta. And I believe he still occupies that fastest lap. Let's have a little look. Yes, he does, but it's only marginally quicker than Tom Roberts was. So if he's gaining, it's definitely not by much, at least for now. And he's still not safe from the drivers behind, especially Dinesh Devjan, who seems to have found a little bit of pace again. He struggled at the start of the race. Nearly lost 4 positions. He was nearly down to P5, but he's now fighting for second place once again. Through the chicane, past the wall of champions they go once more. The gap just shrinks a tiny bit to the race leader, but Tom Roberts appears to be controlling the pace for now. A bit further back, we see the other WR driver. That's not him. There he is. Alessandro Poi is fighting with him. Justin Arts, who's already got a 10-second time penalty to his name due to 2 incidents. One of a an unfair position gain through corner cutting apparently, and then ignoring a yellow flag. He's only going to be able to serve one of those during a pit stop, so he will have to hope for at least one safety car. Otherwise his race will not be a good one, I'm afraid. And if you're wondering, can you show us tires please? Well, good news for you, everybody's on the full wets. And apart from the 2 drivers who's now far behind the rest of the field, that's Benny Fabos and Pablo Alcoba, everybody is on the same age of full wet tires. Let's have a double check on that one. There you go. Confirmation, full wets for everybody. And I don't expect that one to change throughout this race. There's only the matter of when will people pit, as Romain Desmay now overtakes Justin Arts for 12th place. Justin struggling in these conditions. He's won in Monaco, finds himself in 13th here in Canada. I believe when I interviewed him last week, he did say that this was not his track. Either him or Dinesh said that. But at the moment it's likely that is him. And there we go, fighting for second place. Dinesh tried to get past Thomas, but Thomas was not having any of that. He allowed him to go side by side as Dinesh struggles for grip there. You saw the car going a bit wobbly. He did not put him in the wall though, and that is good. And now he can continue on. Julian and Thomas Buldra are still a little bit behind. Still within 1 second. No DRS of course in these conditions. But they are still somewhat in striking range. Should either of these drivers in second and third make a mistake. Slowly but surely, groups are starting to form. There's now 3 drivers at the back who have already pitted. That is Christian Lyubinov, Benny Fabos and Pablo Alcoba. As Alessandro Poi is the next driver to get a 3-second time penalty and a lockup or a late missed braking point there. But Julian nearly allowed Thomas Buldra to get past, but his exit was better. And that means he's still ahead of the McLaren. But for how long? Will Thomas Buldra try to make the move in the chicane? Yes, he's gonna go for it. Apologies. My voice is cracking up a bit there. But another back exit for Julian now allows Thomas Buldra to get past. Up into 4th place he goes. And he will now have to try and chase down his teammates. Ooh, but a bad braking there into turn 1. Nearly allowed Julian to get back past. Julian now has the inside line. He does get almost side by side there once again. And he does decide to stay behind him for the time being. Thomas Buldra then up to 4th place. 2 seconds now behind the top 3. We have a yellow flag. A bit further back, I believe that is somewhere where René Klein is. It was here. This is where it happened. And there's a safety car. I'm trying to look at these 2 cars for any damage. They appear to be fine. Let's look at these drivers. All in one piece. No damage there. I'm not sure why the safety car is coming out now. The yellow flag happened when Charles and René were in turn 1. And then the game decided to blow a full safety car out of the park. And I can't fathom out why that is. They're both still fine. This is good news for those who are trying to chase down the race leader, who appears to have opened a massive gap already. Where is he going to go? He's going to go for a fresh set of tires. And the guys behind him are following suit. And I'd say everybody else is going to probably follow as well. The fresher your tires are in a wet race, the better. That's their point of view, at least. Double stack, nearly double stack pit stop there for McLaren with both Thomases. And Tim Byers decides to continue. That is interesting. He nearly takes the race lead there. Now we're going to watch Charles and René. Let's see if their wings are going to be replaced. That at least gives some explanation to this safety car. No. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know why there's a safety car right now. It might be the weather. Might be a coincidence then. But right now the race has been neutralized. With Tom Roberts still leading, Tim Byer had to yield to Thomas Pausta as well. Thomas is now in second, and this is bad news for Janesh, who's now got a car ahead of him with older tires. I'm not sure how fast the full wets degrade around this track, but I'd say there's about a 10 to 15% wear difference between fresh and the current tires of Tim. Might be a bit more than that, maybe 15 to 20%. And we will have to wonder how much that will affect Tim Byers' pace. But he has chosen track position over a fresh set of tires. And I think he's the only one. Let's have a little look. That's not the one I wanted to switch. Yep, definitely. Tim Byer, the only one to not have pitted. He's probably expecting more chaos. And when the next safety car comes out, he'll probably be pitting then. With that, we'll put him at the back of the field. Because if the next safety car happens soon, it will definitely not work out for him. Also, Justin has been able to serve one of his 2 5-second penalties. He's back down to a total of 5 seconds added to his name. Also good news for Benny Fabos, Christian Lyubanov and Pablo Alcoba, of course, who are now able to catch back up to the field, as well as René Klein, who appears to have fallen behind a little bit as well. There he is, going into turn 1 right now. Just waiting for the final 3 drivers to catch up. Pablo is still in the hairpin right now. So I'm not sure if the safety cars are going to come in at the end of this lap. Because he's got quite a long ways to go to catch up to this long group of cars. Lap 10 of 35. Tom Roberts leads during safety car conditions. If you've just tuned in, the reason for the safety car is yet unknown. I haven't seen anything in the Discord as well in terms of information. It looks like the safety car is going to stay out for another lap. Also looks like Pablo is taking it quite easy. His gap hasn't appeared to be shrinking that much, to be honest. He's trying to save his tires, which would make sense. I'd say I'm not sure if Tim Byer likes this one, with the safety car staying out for this long. He's the only driver to not pit under this condition. How will this affect his race? Janesh Dovjan in P4 at the moment. The first car behind Tim, the car that hasn't pitted. Will that harm him in any way? And Christian Lyubanov has retired for some reason. He's thrown in the towel. Maybe he's had some issues. But he is not continuing on in this race, and that is the first retirement. Surprisingly, not because of a crash in these conditions. But why? I'm not entirely sure yet. Pablo has moved up one position because of that. And he's nearly caught up with the rest of the field. That means the safety car will be coming in at the end of this lap for sure. And the race will recommence, with Roberts still leading from Spousta and Bayer. Safety car in this lap. There is your confirmation. Jernash is very, very close to Tim Bayer. He's ready to strike at any moment's notice. Not sure if that's wise. Go, Romain, my goat. You can do this. At the moment, Romain Desmay finds himself in 15th place after taking the qualifying ban. He was one of 2 drivers to have taken it, Zach Miles being the other one, and he's in P12 at the moment. The track is green once again, I believe, and Tim Bayer is on his way already. Unfortunately for Janesh, he has to wait to strike. Let's see the tire advantage. Look at this! He's got so much more speed, but he can't overtake yet. That is very unfortunate because he had a brilliant restart. Thomas Boulder has gone for it, but he has to yield already, and that's cost him actually a position there. He nearly took 2 of them, but he was too early, and now he's lost 2 positions at once, and Tim Bayer is already falling through the field as he gets overtaken by almost 3 cars in a row there out of turn 2 there. That was absolutely massive, and oh, nearly there, Buldra losing control of the car coming out of turn 5. That was very, very close indeed. Buldra now overtaking Kriesix once again. The 2 are fighting hard for position, and Tim Bayer is back where he started, or pretty much where he was before the safety car came out. We see, oh dearie me, I think that is Istvan Tamashi spinning out, losing many positions. Already he's down to 15th place. Is there damage to the car? I do not know. But quite a lot of chaos here in the midfield. Tim Bayer, it seems, is a moving obstacle at the moment with his old tires, and he'll be ruining his decision to not pit when the safety car came out. He's now down to 9th. Exofox gets past as well. He's being hounded by Justin Ars. In fact, he's already side by side and ahead with a tiny margin. And what is Tim Bayer gonna do now? He yields from the fight here. He knows he doesn't have the grip to attack in the chicane. Robert's going for the fastest lap once again. Spousta appears to be the only driver to be able to stay with him somewhat. Janesh Dovjan, I think, has been caught up in the chaos caused by the Alfa Romeo of Tim Bayer with the old tires on it. Roman Dismay overtaking Charles Sutton for position as well. They're still somewhat side by side going into turn 3, but he's fully taken the position right there. He's now right behind Tim Bayer. Tim staying out is chaos. I can see that there in the chat. WR in this race is very unlucky. Jernash, yeah, he's not able to stay with the pace. Justin has still got a 5-second penalty he has to serve. And there's nothing the stewards can do if he served both. They can't take it away from him anymore. And Tim Bayer is now getting overtaken by Roman Dismay. Again, I'd say. Oh, he's trying to take him back on the inside in the hairpin, trying to make his life as miserable as possible to allow his teammate to get past. There is Zach Miles, who's probably... There we go. Of course, Tim is moving out of the way to allow Zach to get past. And up to 11th place he goes, but there's René Klein out of nowhere. In the chicane they go! Of course, that was inevitable! He wasn't side by side enough there, I'd say, to get the move done. And Tim Bayer loses more positions. He's now almost at the back of the field in 14th, and Pablo Alcoba is coming up next. It is a tough one for Tim to swallow. The decision to stay out has not worked out at all. I don't know if that was a conscious choice. I don't know if they have a race engineer there who had made the decision, or was it the driver's call? But it is definitely not working out for Tim right now. The tire difference is too big, you can see it there. There's only 8 laps of difference, but it's night and day, pretty much literally. And big gaps are starting to form, especially in the top 5. They are nowhere close to one another. Roberts is pulling away. But Janesh Javjan is catching up to Tomasz Sposta. 36 in the meanwhile finds Luke Mills behind him. Not that far behind him as well. One of the closest battles we have on track at the moment. Another close battle happens right here with the other ABS driver finding Justin Aerts behind. And Tim Bayer now down to 16. Look at this. Justin Aerts is going to go for the move. No, he isn't. At the last moment, he decides to back out and figures out that he's not close enough to make the move. But he's definitely telling Exafox that he's there and he will attack at any moment's notice. Tim Bayer now in the pit lane for that stop that he should have done in the safety car. We are nearing the halfway point of the race. The predicted pit stop in the chat of lap 17 is not going to happen, I'm sure. These tires are still fresh. The tire range is 6 laps. But most of those laps were driving under safety car conditions. So they will last quite a lot longer than this. Drifting through the corners. Seems to be a habit for both WR drivers tonight. Shouldn't do that too often. It will definitely harm your rear tires. Justin is now finally on the move. I saw in the chat a few minutes ago that WR is very unlucky. Not in terms of pace though, they found it again. Janesh though is losing a little bit of time to Tomasz Pausta, who in his turn is getting very close to Tom Roberts right now. The fight for the lead is back on right now. Roman Dishmay getting a 3-second time penalty and Justin Aerts is making the move before turn 1 even happens. Up into P18 goes. And this is good news for WR. They see that the NLR drivers are down the field. Both of them are ahead. Tim Bayer far behind due to his forced pit stop pretty much. Whoa! Justin Aerts, be careful there, my man. Nearly losing the car, allowing Exafox back past. And he has to be careful now. Exafox is edging ever closer. Will he make the move in the hairpin? It depends on the exit of Justin Aerts here. Looks like Justin's exit is a slight bit better than Exafox's. Zach Miles is very close as well to Roman Dishmay, but Roman is just closing the door there, but not close enough. Close enough. Whoa, they come together. They nearly collide with one another in a very bad way indeed. Oh, dearie me. Roman Dishmay is having none of it and his smart front wing is smashed. What on earth is going on here? He moved into Zach Miles' car twice or 3 times for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on. But whatever reason, Roman Dishmay does not want Zach Miles to get past. And another safety car because of the debris. And Zach Miles will not be a happy man now. He has to get a new front wing and fights himself at the back of the field once again. Almost where he started, and NLR is in a very bad position now. I'm not sure. I wish I could see a replay of what happened between Roman Dishmay and Zach Miles. But from my point of view, at the very least, it looks like, well, it might have been grip. But 3 times in a row, smashing in the side of the car next to you. Not sure if that's a coincidence, but that's up to the stewards to decide. If this incident gets reported, of course. Fact is that we have another safety car, and I wonder how this will affect everybody's tire strategy. Looks like half the field has decided to pit already. Vinny van Bos has pitted a few laps earlier. He's now in 14th. Everybody can overtake the safety car here. Because the race leader isn't there yet. Tim Bayer decided to pit again. Probably for the better. What are these drivers doing? Yep, there you go. Coming in once again for another set of tires. Oh, dearie me, a drive-through for Janesh Javjan. Whoever said in the chat that WR is unlucky, you've just jinxed them. There was also a bit of a wait there. But he has to come in again to serve that drive-through. This is good news for NLR. Whoa, nearly collision there in the pit lane with Julian. Thankfully, those things can't happen in the game, as they'll just ghost. But that was a bit scary. The top two remains the same. Pablo Alcoba is now the driver who has decided not to pit. I don't know if he knew what happened to Tim Beyer, but he might now be the next one to be the victim of not pitting under safety car conditions. Although, to be fair, this time it's definitely not a big difference in tire life, because there's only been very few laps driven under racing conditions on the tires that are still under his car. So the pace difference might not be as big as the tires that Tim had under his car after the safety car came in. So that's the thing we'll have to keep in mind. Either way, he's ahead of his teammate who is on fresher tires. I wonder if he's going to help out Julian then. Playing Ducks might be doing some teamwork. They might have sacrificed Pablo's race, who was in the back of the field nonetheless, to help out Julian. Maybe Pablo will go super aggressive on the top two. We do not know. What we do know, though, is that Junesh will not stay in this position. And he will fall to the back of the field because he's got a drive-through penalty. He was a bit too far up on that delta when he entered the pit lane. And that will definitely not help him in the slightest. PD is playing Ducks indeed, Danny. So far, so good. For most drivers, I'd say. An interesting choice of strategy for the playing Ducks. I wonder how this is going to play out for them. They could definitely use a win to stay in the championship fight. We're not that far off from the halfway point in the season either way. And I'm not sure if there's going to be another season in this game. The field is caught up now anyway. And that will mean the safety car will come in at the end of this lap. Just past the halfway point of this race. Going into lap 20. Confirmation once again. Safety car in this lap. And once again, Tom Roberts is the one to lead the field. He took the position from Junesh and so far has not looked back. He hasn't been under much threat throughout the entire race. He's kept a level head. And if he can nail another restart, he'll be safe once more. He knows he's got the upper hand in terms of pace. And it looks like he's off already. Trying to get an early lead through the chicane. Thomas Spausta, though, is keeping up with him, but he can't overtake him yet. And we saw that going disastrously wrong with his teammate Thomas Buldra, who overtook too early and then lost 2 positions instead of gaining some. Pablo Alcoba is allowing Julian to get past, but he's definitely not going to allow Junesh Dovjan pass. Unfortunately, that didn't work out as they planned, most likely, as Junesh is already passed. Up to 4th place he goes. Pablo Alcoba now will try to hold up the other drivers to help out his teammate here. Kreisix is the next one behind. And so far, it's working a bit better than with Junesh. It has... Yes, there we go. Although it doesn't really hurt to let Junesh pass. Oh my goodness, that is a big collision there for Kreisix, and he's out of the race. And that means another safety car. Actually, it's a virtual safety car. Luke Mills collided with somebody during that VSC, and that got him a 5-second time penalty. And if he doesn't serve it, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that one gets removed, because that would have been a normal collision when there wasn't a VSC. Alessandro Poi gets a 5-second penalty for ignoring yellow flag. This race so far is absolute chaos. So many things are going on right now, but Kreisix is out. We saw him spinning, but we didn't see him crashing. It wasn't a very high-speed spin. And I think I see a safety car. Yep, there it is. The third safety car is out. And Jernej cannot service drive-through now. More chaos than Monaco last week. Well, I'd agree with that one, but there only have been 2 retirements despite the increased amount of chaos. That is interesting. And I wonder now what will happen to Jernej. Will the lap countdown still go on under safety car conditions? I do not know that, actually. If it does, he will be disqualified for sure, and that is terrible news for him. Exafox is pitting, Justin is pitting as well. He's got no front wing. Oh, dearie me. And he's put on his 8-lap old full wets. There's only 3 sets of full wets in the race. And that means nobody has a fresh set of tires anymore. And he'll now be off worse than he was before. 21 laps in. And with this information, realizing that going to pit now will give you older tires. They will probably not pit anytime soon. They've been given the least worn tires, I think. The race has been neutralized for the 3rd time. So much stuff has been happening already. Apologies about that one. And this is only the good news for Tom Roberts, because despite his gap getting closed again, all these laps under safety car conditions are laps that he can't be overtaken. This man though, yep, once again, he'll still have to serve that drive-through penalty. Speaking of penalties, let's have a little look at how the other penalties are standing right now. Luke has 5 seconds, Alessandro Poy has 5 and 3. And Pablo, Roman and Benny currently have 3-second time penalties due to track limits. We see Exafox and Justin in again. I think they didn't want those tires, and there we go. They've now pitted for another set of tires, which are a lot younger. And these are the tires that they had on in the first place, before they switched it. So they are now back to fresher tires. Very smart. Let's have a look in terms of points. WR is still better off than NLR. But it is CPI and PD that they have to be worried about right now. They have 2 drivers within the top 6. Playing ducks, and CPI might make up a lot of points tonight. They're currently 2nd and 5th and 3rd and 6th respectively. Is the safety car going to come in? It depends on how close Justin will be right here. There we are, a safety car in this lap. A little late, but still in time for Tom Roberts to determine the pace. And Justin will be just in time, depending on how long Roberts will take to restart this race. Justin is still a few seconds back. There's a lot of things going on. It's chaos in the back of the field. Alessandro Poy is suddenly around already. The race hasn't even restarted and chaos has unfolded once again in the field here. Everybody got so slow for some reason. Charles Sutton is in the pit. He's got no front wing anymore. He got caught off guard. Luke Mills is fighting with Pablo Alcoba and Roman Dishmay for position. It's 3 abreast in turn 2. And Pablo Alcoba is losing out. He was 6th, he's now in P8. Roman Dishmay is just ahead of him, as well as Luke Mills. Istvan Tomashi is now getting a 3-second time penalty. Janesh still has to serve his drive-through, so he will not be an issue for the drivers around him. Tom Roberts still leads from Thomas Spausta and Julian 28. Janesh Dovjan will soon move out of the way. That will allow Thomas Buldra to make up another position, go into P4. and tried to help out his teammate, fending off Julian. Zach Miles fighting with several drivers here. Benny Fabos is trying to fend off the other NLR driver. Tim Bayer is just behind him right there. Is he gonna make the move into the hairpin then? It looks like he might try an attack. Will have to go around the outside, but Benny Fabos is closing the door. He bumps into the rear of the AlphaTauri there. Istvan Tamashi is looking at the chaos and falling ahead of him and trying to wait and get the move done. There we go. Tim Bayer is gonna go for the move now. But he has to go around the outside. Will it be good enough? No, he does not have enough speed on the straight. Benny Fabos is quicker. Janesh Dovjan is now serving his drive-through. That is very unfortunate for him. Tom Roberts once again with the fastest lap of the race, and Zach Miles is on the offensive again. Pablo Alcoba getting swallowed this time by the Alfa Romeo. He still hasn't pitted. His tires are now 15 laps old. On the plus side though, he is the only driver remaining to have a fresh set of full wets, if my calculations are correct. So if another safety car comes out, he will have the upper hand in terms of pace, or at least in terms of tire life. But will it happen? Well, if we have to see it from the rest of the race, it's very likely that another safety car will come up, but you never really know. Exafox now attacking Tim Bayer for position, but he will not make the move into turn 8 because Tim Bayer's got a bit more speed there. And Benny Fabos, whoa! Pablo Alcoba had to cut the corner there. He's got no pace at the moment whatsoever. Exafox is now moved ahead of Tim Bayer, but he's got the outside in the hairpin. There's chaos and Tim Bayer spins, and that is getting a bit of a scissor movement for Justin Arts, who gets smashed between two cars. It couldn't get much worse for WR, but there it is. Both cars now at the back of the field in terms of points. Justin Arts tries to get back past Istvan Tamashi. But there's so much chaos going on, it's very difficult where to look at the moment. Zach Miles is now up into 7th place. He's moving up the field at long last. It's taken him a while, but there he is in 7th place, but 3.5 seconds behind P6. Tim Bayer is still on the move. Pablo Alcoba has decided to not give up despite his old tires. He's in between two cars, losing out to both of them. Istvan Tamashi moves past as well. Now he finds both WR cars behind him. Justin Arts tries to go round the outside and the inside, and up he goes. Janesh Dovjan decides to join in as well with his teammate. They nearly went side by side, but Justin has allowed Janesh to get ahead. Janesh nearly lost the car again in that position there. That part of the track seems to be tricky for him, but so far he's kept it out of the wall. But WR on the back foot. NLR suddenly is the better team in terms of points. But what actually completely the other way around a few laps ago. This just shows how much things can change under safety car conditions. Tom Roberts once again has the upper hand in pace. He's moving away from the rest of the field. And if it stays like this, he'll be granting Team Shizou the first win of the season. And they will need it because they're still 9th in the standings. Luke Mills getting very close to Romain Desmay for P5. His first race for TTM, and he's doing quite well there. If this fight gets real, that will allow Zach Miles to catch up. He's overtaking the other TTM driver. There you can see both of them in turn 1, just in the back of the camera shot there. Exafox is getting very close to Benny Fabos, the only NVR driver out there tonight. As Wilson hasn't shown up, we do not know where he is. Exafox is hounding the AlphaTauri here. He's got a good exit. Is he going to go for the move? In turn 6, he is going for the move. Oh, actually half-hearted. Because Benny Fabos closed the door just in time. A bit further back, it's chaos once again between 3 cars. It's Janesh Dovjan moving through both Tim Bayer and Istvan Tamashi. Back up into P11, but he was in pole position. This is not where he wanted to be. Once again, it looks unlikely that Janesh will convert his pole into the win. He also can't go for his famous medium to soft strategy because the track is just way too wet for that one. He's now fighting for every single point available. He just made up 0.4 of a second just through the hairpin to Exafox, who is fighting with Benny Fabos. He really wants to get past there. It looks like Benny doesn't have the pace that Exafox has, but he stays ahead still. He needs to get exit now, then here Exafox does. He doesn't really get the best exit, but he's still close. He's going to go for it in turn 1, side by side, and well ahead already when the corner happens. Benny Verbos is not backing out yet, though. But he's finally done it. Exafox is now ahead, and Janesh is closing in very quickly indeed. Back to the head of the field, it's Julian chasing down Thomas Bausta, who just can't keep up with Tom Roberts. Tom Roberts is on another level in these conditions. He's doing extremely well with this pace. The man of the match tonight, I'd say. Nobody is on his level right now. And things are finally calming down a little bit. So much chaos in the past few laps. And we're nearly at the final stages of the race. TTM is also starting to look good in terms of points right now. PD not so much anymore, unfortunately. And there's the move by Janesh Dovjan in the hairpin. Benny Fabos is still on the inside though. Janesh knows it. Wow, he's cutting across him there. He really doesn't want Benny to get back, because he knows he's got the upper hand in terms of pace. Benny has a little look in as they approach the chicane, but he decides to back out of it. And his exit isn't good enough to close the gap anymore. And Janesh is away to the next driver. How quick is he going to catch up with Exafox? Because Exafox has got a good pace as well. And the gap will not be closing as quick as it did to Benny Fabos. We're keeping an eye on the timings to see which fight is the closest. And this fight is very close at the moment. Thomas and Julian for second place. You also see here Roman Dishmay closing in on Tomasz Buldra, but he does have a penalty. Oh, and Alessandro Poi has retired from the race, and that's a double retirement on the debut race for Precision Racing. Both cars out, retired in the pit lane. That is very, very unfortunate for them. Not something you want to see on your first race out there. These conditions, I'm afraid, just weren't for them. Also, Pablo getting another 3-second time penalty. Tomasz Bausta still fighting with Julian. But we're getting close to the end of this race. We also see here Istvan Tamashi trying to get closer to Benny Fabos. Benny fighting for what he's worth. Trying to get those points in for NVR. As he's the only driver who can do so right now, literally, because his teammate hasn't showed up. Penalties are like this. Luke Mills still got those 5 seconds to his name, and he's less than 5 seconds ahead of Zach Miles at the moment. I think that gap is actually increasing. But ideally, he wants to move ahead of Roman Deshmay. He will finish ahead of him right now, because he's worked 1 second less of penalties right now than Roman. And he's able to keep up pretty nicely here. Luke will have it removed. That's very true actually. Yeah, he got that collision penalty after the chaos unfolded and the safety car came out, and the game decided that under safety car conditions a tiny nudge is worth 5 seconds. Oh, already there Julian is going on the move. And outside the camera's view, he's taken second place now. Tomasz Bausta has been demoted to third. Janesh Dovjan is already called to Exafox. In fact, he's already gone ahead in the chicane. Up to 9th he goes. 2.2 seconds to René Klein. Luke Mills is indeed a net P5. But look at those position changes for Roman and Zach Miles. They've done quite well after their qualifying bans they had to take. They decided to sacrifice themselves. And here they are, both of them ahead of their teammates. And although NLR will not retake the championship lead tonight, they will simply not gain enough points for that. In fact, if Janesh keeps up this pace, a WR might actually gain on them again. Look at this. Tomasz Bausta is definitely not giving up on that second position just yet. As they are on the back straight right now. Thomas is about to get back past as they approach the chicane. He decides to back out, wisely so. And hopefully give Julian a back exit. As in, hopefully for him. But he can't get close enough. Looks like Julian's got the upper hand in terms of straight line speed here. And Bausta has the upper hand in the corners. As you can see, he just is able to close the gap by quite a lot in the corners. But Julian just drives away on the straights. Definitely a setup difference right there. In the meanwhile, the other Thomas, the other CPI Thomas, is a bit further back in 4th place at the moment. And behind him, there is still Roman Dishmay and Luke Mills fighting for a position, although Luke doesn't have really have to pass him. Mostly because that 5-second penalty will be removed. And Roman has a 6-second penalty. Oh, Jernej tried to take an A climb, but he broke way too deep into turn 6. And that nearly cost him another position as Exofox is still there. But Jernej really wants to get past René Klein here. He has to work hard for it. René's just not giving up just yet. He's on the inside, but Jernej decides to go on the inside of the inside. In the hairpin, is he braking too late again? But he is at least drifting there. That was a very risky move, but he's done it. Drifting is WR's specialty tonight, that's for sure. Behind him, René Klein now has to defend from Exofox. But Exofox, well, he nearly got ahead, but he outbroke himself quite badly there. And that's cost him more than it was worth. René Klein will breathe a little sigh of relief there. He nearly lost 9th place as well. We're in the final stages of this race. 3.5 laps to go. Julian can't shake off Tomasz Bausta yet. Tom Roberts definitely got this in the bag unless something goes horribly wrong. But with his level head tonight, I doubt that one. He's doing an exceptional job. And we have a perfect Shizou sandwich at the moment because his teammate is in last place. And the only driver to not finish in the points. That is a very big difference. Let's see. Can Tomasz Bausta go for it here? He's using a lot of battery to go side by side. He has to go around the outside. Can he do it then? Yes, he just barely makes it. Will it give him a bad exit though? It doesn't. But it looks like Julian is closing in anyways. And as they go into turn 1, he retakes 2nd place. But Thomas decides to stay side by side with him. And Julian doesn't really want that. Now they're together. And will there be disaster in turn 3? Tomasz Bausta is marginally ahead. And Julian has to yield. Otherwise he would have taken to the grass. And this has allowed the other CPI Tomasz to catch up. And not only him, Roman Dishmay and Luke Mills are there as well as Julian gets a terrible exit out of the corner. And there's the other Tomasz. Tomasz Buldra now fights with Julian for that final podium position. This could be a very good day for CPI if they can take this one. Whoa, that was incredibly close. Julian has to cut the corner there because of that fight. This 3-second time penalty might as well be removed. And now he's got Roman Dishmay at his inside. Can he take that position as well? Oh, they both spin out! And Luke is the luckiest man in the world there as they both ghosted. But they did a very synchronous spinning there in the hairpin. And both pay the price for trying to fight one another in that hairpin under these tricky conditions. But that fight is definitely not over yet. Both of them continue to fight for position. Julian versus Roman. But it looks like Roman, at least for now, is ahead. And he is gaining on Julian at the moment. It's unlikely that they have damage because they just span out. And I'd say they span out on their own, fighting each other. They didn't touch. They just spun out in perfect synchronization. If somebody could clip that one, that would be nice. I think I saw Istvan Tomashi either losing or gaining a position here. But Luke Mills right now could actually end up on the podium in his first outing for TTM. Yeah, Luke's done nothing wrong so far. Istvan has no end plate, so I did see it correctly then. It's a bit difficult to spot in these conditions, to be fair. We are on the penultimate lap at the moment, and Tom Roberts has got a 9-second lead over the next car. He is just dominating this race. He just can't be caught. Second place appears to be safe for Tomasz Pausta as well. But CPI will have to defend from Luke Mills on the final lap of this race. Luke is known as one of the most consistent drivers in this series. No matter for which league or team he's coming out for. But he'll have to give it his all to end up on the podium. Yes, his penalty will be removed, but he still has to overtake Tomasz Buldra on track. And Tomasz Buldra is back where he started. René Klein still trying to keep Exofox behind in the meantime. Exofox trying to go around the outside, he can't do it. René struggling for grip. Quite a lot there. Many wheel spins happened. But he's still ahead of the Mercedes. Can he keep it there though? At the moment, no close fights happening except for these two. Luke Mills is starting to fall behind again, but this man has been completely untouchable. Tom Roberts is nearing his finishing flag. The end of this race. On the home straight, he goes right there through the chicane one more time. Nobody could take him. He has dominated this race and wins round 4 here in the Competitive Speed Series. Shazoo takes it for the first win this season. Brilliant job by them. Well done to you, Tom Roberts. And there we go. CPI take a double podium. It's not a 1-2, but it is a 2-3. And that, I'd say, is good enough for them. Luke Mills will be finishing 4th. It says Zach Miles will finish 4th here, but that will not be happening as Luke's penalty is extremely likely to be removed. So I'd say Zach Miles will be finishing P5. Julian then will be finishing in P6. Roman Dishmay in P7. Janesh Dovjan, despite his woes, has recovered to P8. René Klein finishes P9. Exofox in P10. Justin Arts in P11. Without a front wing, frankly. Not sure what happened there across the line. I thought for a moment he was in the pit lane. But he crashed out on the finish. Tim Beyer in 13th, Istvan Tomashi in P14, Pablo Alcoa in 15th, and we're waiting for the other Shazoo driver to finish. Charles Sutton will be very happy with his teammate's victory, as you can see it here. A bit of weaving and crashing out on the finish, but he will not gain any points. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword for the team, I'd say. Driver of the day, Zach Miles. Not very surprising, considering how many positions he's made up since the race start, but it's 4th place is most likely not his. Confirmation, Tom Roberts, also the fastest lap by a long shot. Look at the difference in time between himself and the others. The only driver to finish in the 1:21, I'd say. Yes, he does. Tomasz Pausta in 2nd. Tomasz Buldra in 3rd. Zach Miles then not in 4th, because that would probably belong to Luke Mills. So Zach Miles in P5. Julian in 6th. Roman Dishmay in P7. Janesh Dovjan in P8. René Klein in 9th. And Exofox rounding off that top 10 right there. The non-finishers of tonight, Alessandro Poi, Krisix and Christian Lyubimov have not finished this race. Charles Sutton in last place. And the only driver to not gain a point tonight. Right on. Let's see if any of these top 3 drivers are up for an interview. I wonder. Tomasz or Tomasz. Let's see if I can tag them. I should make sure to not tag the same Thomas twice. Right on. Let's see. Who has got something to say about this race? Which driver? It was a very good race, actually. Let's be honest on that one. It was there was a lot of chaos. 3 safety cars. And plenty of switches throughout the field in terms of positions. WR a little bit in the mud this time. After that 1-2 in Monaco. Their lead in the championship will shrink a tiny bit. And I'm looking at the waiting room. We have everybody in. So, we'll be moving on to our race winner first and foremost. It's Tom Roberts joining us here. First and foremost, congratulations. That, I'd say, was a very dominant victory. But I'm curious to know, was it expected?
Not expected, to be honest. I didn't expect anything. Just hope for the best. I have not done a race at Canada on PC or wet really much, so I didn't really know what my pace was going to be like. But I got past DNA on the first lap, and I think my setup was perfect, so it was quite easy because wet you can't really overtake. But I had good pace anyway.
Yeah, you're surprised by your own pace, Ben, but in general, is the wet something you like, or do you prefer the dry conditions?
Definitely, I quite like the wet, and once I get into like a good rhythm in the wet, I feel.
Yeah, and then of course, you win the race. Your teammate Charles finishes in last. Were you in contact with each other during the race?
Yeah, he got quite unfortunate being like at the back with all the incidents were going down, and every time there was an incident, he had to avoid and lost positions. And then on the last safety car restart, the safety car came in dead late, so I had to slow down quite late, and I think that caused quite a bit of carnage at the back, and he lost his wing. So unfortunate for him, but hopefully I made up for it by getting a lot of points in P1.
Righto. So Great Britain next in 2 weeks. How's that one for you?
In 2 weeks?
Yeah, I believe next week is a break.
Okay. Silverstone's quite good for me. Not sure whether I'll be available or not, and whether other drivers in the team will race, but yeah, we'll see, because Silverstone's more of a common track, not Canada. Like, no one wants to race Canada.
All right.
Everyone wants to race Silverstone.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us, and enjoy your victory.
Thanks for the comms.
Cheers. Righto, let's pull in the next man. The man who finished second. It is Thomas Spousta. Well done to you. Congratulations. Second place. A very good result for the team as well. How was this race for you?
Yeah, this race was it was quite hard, but I'm very happy that I managed to secure this podium for the team. It is my debut race here, and things went quite well. I sadly invalidated the lap that would have been pole, but yeah, then just Tom had too much pace for me to catch him. But yeah, P2 is very nice result.
Yeah, well, you were involved in plenty of fights anyway, especially with Julian. How were those fights?
They were quite stressful. Yeah, I just tried everything to slow him up, that my teammate can catch up as well. But yeah, that even worked, and I luckily even managed to overtake him. But it was nice racing. I enjoyed it, and yeah, I just loved that racing with him.
Yeah, so CPI is back on the up again. In 2 weeks, we'll be having Great Britain. Of course, I don't know if you'll be racing or not there, but how is the track for you?
Britain, I like Britain. I think I have quite pace on it, so let's keep pushing. and let's try to even step up one more place here.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy your second place.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Cheers. And then we'll have the other Thomas joining us, Thomas Buldra. There you are, a double podium. Hello, for the team first and foremost. Congratulations on that one. Third place for you. This race was quite hectic, quite chaotic, but here you are, third place. How was this race for you?
Yeah, thanks. It was quite hectic. The pace in wet for me isn't that good, and I honestly hate it. But in the end, it all went quite well. I had only one warning, so that was good as well. So I could push more at the end. And yeah, with my teammate, we did a really good job.
Yeah, were you communicating throughout the race with your teammate?
Oh yes, we were in the voice chat.
Very nice. Looking a little bit further back, qualifying, were you satisfied with the position where you started?
No. Like P3 is good, but the quali lap could be much better. I lost the time in first and second and last sector. Like the last chicane was really bad, so yeah.
Sounds like your teammates told me as well that he nearly had a pole position, so there could have been a CPI 1-2 then at the start of the race.
Yeah, yes, for sure.
But still, though, it's a CPI 2-3, a lot of points for the championship. How do you consider your team in terms of the championship overall?
I think we are aiming for P1, P2. So this is very good for us. We didn't do well in previous rounds, but I think we can cook in next rounds. So, yeah.
Right, looking forward.
We are aiming high.
All right. Looking forward what you'll be bringing to the table next time. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy third place.
Thanks as well. See ya.
Cheers. All right, and that will be concluding the interviews for tonight. It also concludes our stream, dear viewers. This hectic and epic race in Canada with full wet conditions, 3 safety cars, plenty of chaos, and a very dominant victory by Tom Roberts. Well done to him once again. Next week, we'll be having a little bit of a break on March 1st, so you can all enjoy the first official Formula 1 race of this season. In 2 weeks, we'll be back with Great Britain. We'll have one more look at the calendar before we finish this one. As you can see there, Silverstone coming up next, Belgium following suit after that one, and Spain following for the 7th round of the season, past the halfway point. Not a brilliant day for WR, nor for NLR, if I'm fair. Although Zach Miles did finish P5 in the end, and Tim Beyer didn't finish down as low as he probably would have feared. Nonetheless, it keeps the championship wide open with plenty of races to come. Make sure to join us in 2 weeks' time for Silverstone. Thank you so much for joining. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. We'll see you next time. Same place, same time. Until then, goodbye.